Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Laura Griffin, who's here to share with us her new novel, The Last Close Call. So are we using genetics to solve elusive cold cases? Well, today's novel is to dive into just that. Laura Griffin is the New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of more than 30 books and novellas. She has won numerous awards for her writings, and her book, Desperate Girls, was named one of the best books of 2018 by Publishers Weekly. So let's welcome to the show, Laura Griffin.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. I got to tell you, once I picked your book up, I could not put it down. My goodness, this is a page turner. What inspired you to write this?
Well, I started out my writing career as a newspaper reporter, and so I've always just had kind of a fascination with true crime and crime fiction. And I also use kind of newspapers and headlines to get story inspiration. So I've been reading a lot in my book research for other suspense novels about this new field called genetic genealogy, and this is where genealogists are helping investigators track down using DNA, track down suspects in their cold case investigations. And so I was really just fascinated by this. I started seeing these stories pop up on the news where this was happening, and investigators were cracking these cases that had been just stone cold for years. And I just thought it was a fascinating field. So I really wanted to learn more about it. And I wanted to write a heroine where that is her specialty, that is her special talent, that is her superpower. And so I learned all about it, and that's what I wrote. And the heroine is Rowan Healy in the book, The Last Close Call.
Well, what a great storyline this is. What type of research did you do for this book?
Well, I started out by just trying to learn a little bit more about genetic genealogy. I have a suspense series called the Tracers series, and it's really there's definitely a forensic slant to it. I'm really interested in forensics and how scientists kind of team up with detectives and cops to really put the clues together. And so I had kind of some background in how DNA was used, but really this new field is kind of turning all these investigations on their head. It's just kind of happening all over the country. It's like every time I turn on the news, I see a news story where someone has used DNA to track down, a suspect in a long buried cold case. And the reason this is happening now is that a lot of people are doing these home DNA kits, and I'm sure you've seen them in your Target or your drugstores carry them. And it's just so many Americans have taken these kits home, have tested themselves. Maybe they're trying to find out more about their ancestry or their relatives, or reunite with long lost cousins, that sort of thing. And so it's what's happened is this DNA database has just exploded, and there's all these profiles there. And that is what is helping police to really use them for detective work. And so I learned all about that, and I learned about how that's being used in real life in real police departments across the country. And it's just fascinating.
I think when a lot of people think of using their DNA profiles to kind of look back and see what's going on in their family tree, they never think about how that's being used forensically as well.
Yes, and that was actually very controversial when police first started kind of using this information to solve cases. I don't think most people were aware that people that had uploaded their profile to some ancestry database, to find long lost relatives, or maybe to find their biological parents if they were adopted, that sort of thing. The police kind of were using these profiles, but I think a lot of people weren't aware, and it caused kind of a controversy when they first started making these high profile arrests. And people said, well, how did you find them? Well, we use this DNA database. And so there was a lot of privacy outcry about privacy rights. And so some of the databases or the DNA companies have changed their rules. Basically, now you have to opt in to share your profile. But, a surprising number, or maybe not a surprising number, quite a few people are willing. They want they want to help law enforcement, and they don't mind if their profile is used to help track down some, serial killer or rapist who has eluded police for years and years. So there are a lot of people that allow their profiles to be used in this way. And so it's just created this kind of gold mine for investigators that are trying to put together the pieces of these investigations.
So when you were developing this storyline, did it kind of write itself? Or was this something that you really had planned out?
Well, the twists and turns always kind of take me by surprise, because I'll start off on a path and I'll kind of have it in mind. And then as I'm writing, it just kind of takes turns of its own. And that's kind of what happened here. I had a general storyline. I wanted my heroine, like I said, to be a genetic genealogist who had this amazing talent for this work. And then I kind of knew I wanted it to be a cold case, and I wanted it to be a rape case. And in this situation, the perpetrator's escalating, and that's why the police detective can see it. He's been to the crime scenes. He's watched the progression. He's seen case after case, and he feels like this perpetrator is escalating, and he knows that it's only a matter of time before he escalates to murder. And that's why there's this urgency around getting her help with the case and getting her help kind of tracking him down and identifying who it is. And so that was kind of the seed of the idea for the story. But of course, she runs into all these obstacles as she's trying to do her genealogy work, and she finds she kind of runs up against all these brick walls. And essentially, I mean, no spoilers, but it turns out that as she's tracing this family tree, she discovers there's an adoption in there, and it kind of brings her work to a halt, because suddenly she doesn't have a lot of the records that she needs to kind of figure out what's going on. And she has to get creative, and that's part of the story too. So there's some twists and turns that kind of come into the story.
Boy, is there. And I couldn't think of a better time to have this book released, by the way, and congratulations. I mean,
Thank you.
how exciting it is, and I know people are just loving this book.
Oh, good. Well, I like to find things that are kind of in the news and current events, and kind of pull those into my stories. And so this was just, I just had to write about it. I mean, every time I turn on the news, I'm seeing, more cases. Just recently, there was the case in Idaho where someone murdered those university students, and police used DNA and genetic genealogy to help track down who it was, and kind of zero in on a certain family tree. And so it started out that this kind of forensic technology was being used to investigate cold cases, but now it's being used to investigate current cases in real time. So it's just the speed with which this has all kind of come about is pretty mind-boggling.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Laura Griffin in regards to her new novel, The Last Close Call. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
What if everything we think we know about addiction, depression, anxiety, and trauma is missing the one key element that will actually let you walk away from them for good? My name's Bob Gardner, founder of The Freedom Specialist and creator of a body-based approach that eliminates suffering and creates happiness, health, and well-being on autopilot. You can read all about it in my book, Built for Freedom, or start your own adventure toward lasting freedom at thefreedomspecialist.com.
If you want to stop divorce fast, you do not need to waste years in therapy. You do not need to work on yourself, and you do not even have to have your spouse on board. If your spouse wants out, if they're filing for divorce, separation, or having an affair, what you need is a proven process to turn your marriage around. Book a free breakthrough session with us at highthrivecoaching.com/apply.
Dr. Richard London, who has 25 years of experience being known as the Man of Steel with the Heart of Velvet, presents the Life Wellness System, The Road to Yes, a mentoring system that brings you to becoming a wellness heir. Imagine having wealth, wellness, love, peace, and spirituality in abundance and balance now. Visit doctorateoflife.com or call 720-213-8021 for a free 15-minute wellness evaluation.
Hi, this is Jana Wilson, author of Wise Little One, Learning to Love and Listen to My Inner Child, a best-selling prescriptive memoir in inner child healing. I'm also the founder of the Emotional Healing System. The inner child, simply put, is your feelings, both positive and negative. If you'd like to learn to love and listen to your wise little one, pick up my book at Amazon or visit my website at janawilson.com. It's never too late to have a happy childhood.
The first thing you need to know about me is that I love my kids, but they are not my everything. They used to be, but that's when my entire life fell apart. In order to pick back up the pieces, I had to put the love I have for myself before everything else, including my kids. I'm Jessica Dennehy, and I own multiple businesses. I'm a best-selling author, and I have all the strategies that I've used to make my life what it is today. And I'm going to teach you how to do them in my new book, Selfish is a Superpower. So go get your copy today on Barnes & Noble or jessicadennehy.com.
Announcing a revolutionary tool for wellness. Scalar Light has the ability to enhance and harmonize your own bioenergies. With Scalar Light, you can get started in just minutes and begin feeling better the very next day. Scalar Light is a remote energy that gently and subtly works with your own body's bioenergies, increases pro-cellular wellness, and enhances your body's immunity.
Experience the benefits of Scalar Light. Try a complimentary 15-day experience at scalarlight.com.
In your hands lie ancestral patterns. These patterns shape how you think, what you struggle with, and experiences you love, your life pattern. We're going into the latest neuroscience of biological hand analysis, a realm beyond palmistry where science and the soul entwine. Hand analysis is the latest method to transform lifelong patterns. I am Master Hand Analyst Brent Bruning. Join us and visit thepowerinyourhands.com.
Pandemonium. Fast forward 20 years. A U.S. president seizes control of all U.S. missiles, the power grid, the banking system, and every computer in America as he hides in an underground bunker. Pandemonium, a captivating sci-fi thriller where a hidden war, psychics, aliens, artificial intelligence, and transcendental love collide with the latest media technology. Pandemonium, live to all devices. Get your copy on paperback or digital. Free sample at getpsychic.org.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest, Laura Griffin, who's here to share with us her new book, The Last Close Call. I know a few years back there was talk that there used to be a backlog in many departments of rape cases that had never been tested. Do you know if that's something that's still a struggle for many of these departments?
It absolutely is still a struggle. The rape kits, some of them just languish in evidence rooms for many years. And once they get the profiles uploaded, they're out there and they can kind of use them. Police can use them to kind of make a match. This genealogy is interesting because it's a little bit different than what police and the FBI had been using for a long time. So now we've got a whole new kind of source of profiles in these genetic genealogy, in these DNA databases that are run by these private companies that are doing, ancestry matching and things like that. So it kind of just provides this whole new avenue for police and cold case detectives that is pretty untapped. And one of the things that's interesting about it is it doesn't have to be the person that committed the crime whose profile is in the database for this technology to be effective. You can zero in on someone's kind of a certain branch of the family tree. And if you've zeroed in on a branch of the family tree using a DNA profile that someone uploaded, then you can say, well, okay, this crime was committed in Southern California in the 1980s. We think the perpetrator was a male between 20 and 40. Well, if there was a person in that family tree that lived in Southern California during that time and fit that age, profile, suddenly you have maybe one or two suspects. And then it's a matter of really zeroing in. And that's what police are doing. They're zeroing in on suspects. And of course they have to have corroborating evidence, and they have to, confirm, their hunches and really go out and do a lot of detective work. It doesn't do the detective work for them, but it just certainly gives them a lead and narrows down the pool.
It does kind of bring things a little bit more together so that they can put all those pieces together.
It also brings up some interesting ethical questions that were really fascinating when I was writing the book. I mean, if police suddenly showed up at your door and they wanted you to provide a DNA sample so that they could try and zero in on someone in your family that may have committed a crime, what would you say? Would you be willing to give that over, or would you have reservations about it? And that's something that came up in the story. The police in the story approached this woman and say, we think someone very closely related to you may have committed a crime and we want your help. And she's kind of got this moral dilemma where she has to wrestle with this. And, ultimately she decides to help, and the story kind of goes from there. But it's definitely an ethical dilemma for people.
It would seem to be like a personal ethical dilemma as well in many ways, not just like the broader scheme. Should we be asking people these questions? Because of course, police officers do want to close as many cases and bring criminals to justice. But should we do that?
Another related ethical dilemma is, now that we have these DNA kits that, you can just do this kit at home. People wondered, is it ethical to go try and track down the biological parents? If the adoption records are sealed and someone wants to find their biological parents, but maybe those people don't want to be found. This is very real for many people because these kits have really taken off, and this kind of information is just kind of out there. And so in a way, there's just no putting the genie back in the bottle. I mean, this information is out there and these profiles are out there, and a talented genetic genealogist can kind of piece these different clues together and track things down, whether you really want them to or not. So it's kind of an interesting, I guess it's a moral gray area in many ways.
I guess it is. What do you want readers to take away from The Last Close Call?
Well, I personally am just very inspired by the work of these detectives and genealogists and these people that kind of track down these clues, and they don't give up on these cold cases. I was just really fascinated to see how, after so many years, there are families that are having closure on their missing relatives, or, things happened to their loved one decades ago, and it was always a mystery, and it just kind of was a shadow over their life for years and years. And now police are kind of bringing, these cases to a close and identifying these people. And, in the case of the famous Golden State Killer in California, here's a man in his 70s who thinks he got away with numerous rapes and murders. And he just, caused terror up and down the coast of California for years. And he thought he got away with it, but the police came knocking on his door. And I think that, if you've ever committed a crime, you need to be looking over your shoulder, because with this new DNA technology, there's really no getting away with murder anymore. It's only a matter of time till police and these genealogists can track it down and make an identification. So in that way, it's very inspiring, and it provides hope to so many people who have been, living with unanswered questions.
I think being able to bring closure to these families that have gone through such horrific events, I mean, what a gift that is.
Yes. And, and the victims themselves, if women who've been targeted by some serial rapist that just never, was caught. those people, their days are numbered. This technology is out there. It's not going away. And, slowly but surely, investigators are chipping away at these cold cases.
Well, Laura, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about the last close call?
Thanks. Well, I have a website where I put updates about, book events, book signings, new releases, things like that. And www.lauragriffin.com. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, just back and forth with readers. I love to talk to readers. I love for people to drop me a note if they, read a book and liked it. But I love to communicate with readers and hear people's stories. And, readers are a source of inspiration too. So I love to visit with people.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Laura. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, The Last Close Call. The Last Close Call is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember, support our indie bookstores. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. You can connect with Laura at her website, lauragriffin.com, for more information on her work and all for other great books. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.